Dr. Butler is now on Instagram and TikTok. Stop this video and go give him a follow for more short-length video content.
So this patient is coming in for evaluation of an expanding lesion that's happened over the course of the last couple of weeks. So I'm working with Dr. Jane again. So what's happening here, if you look at these?
So these are kind of punctum and
Yeah.
some drainage is happening.
So there's pressure coming up, right? So this is the body's trying to heal itself as best it can. And what is this most likely?
An infected cyst.
Yeah, and the reason why we look at more of a cyst as opposed to an abscess, it's got a defined border, and it's not quite as superficial spread as I would expect. Now, you can sometimes be fooled, but we'll know for sure when we actually open it up. And what would we expect the difference to be? If it was a pure abscess, what would it look like versus a cyst?
So pure abscess, you'd get more pus-like and liquidy material coming out, whereas a cyst would be more
Keratin, right? So you get a thicker, exactly. So you're going to get a thicker amount with this. So we're going to start to freeze this up. What's the limitations with the freezing in this case?
If it's infected, the freezing won't be as effective.
Yeah, it won't heal as well, right? So and these puncta here, it's going to sort of want to spray out of that area. And the other thing we want to try and avoid if we can. So we always want to be very superficial because if you push it into the lesion, it'll create pressure, it'll be more uncomfortable for him. So we want to be as superficial as possible. So I'm going to put some freezing into this. Okay. Just bear with me. We've already added some topical anesthetic in this, and antiseptic, I should say. So this is where you just want to breach into it just a little bit, and I want that to blanch ideally. So just like it's doing now. So I'm doing that slowly. You okay?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more over here. So essentially, you can see how that's draining a little bit already. So I just want the bevel of the actual needle to go in, and that's about it. And I want it to spread just like that. Not too much pressure there?
No, it's not.
Yeah, and that's because we're not into the actual capsule itself, so that's why we're able to do that. Just add a little bit more. So, and why does the infection interfere with how lidocaine works?
Because of the acidity of the... So it needs to be kind of activated. It's an alkalized.
It essentially maintains in its ionized form. And so when lidocaine is ionized, it actually can't penetrate into the actual cell membrane, so it can't exert its activity. Does that hurt there?
No.
Not too bad. So for this one, we use a number 11 blade, because we want to be puncturing this as opposed to doing an incision. You okay?
Yeah.
So, just going to put some pressure on this. You see there it's blocking? See that's where you see it's a cyst. So that's the particulate matter I was talking about.
And then if it was more of an abscess, it would be just liquid.
Yeah, just be pure liquid. So essentially what I try and do here is I'm going to be just opening up in different areas to see if I can get that. That's not too uncomfortable?
No.
You're okay? Good. So the assessment here is going to be, is this incision big enough to allow us to get as much particulate matter out as possible? If we think it is, we leave it. If not, I just extend it just a little bit. There's always a balance here, because again, typically we don't have good anesthesia. That's not too uncomfortable?
No.
So I'm just going to extend this just a little bit. And should we treat this with an antibiotic afterwards?
Because it's an infected cyst, it might be a good idea too. So, but he's already on an antibiotic as well.
Yeah, so it takes that argument out, so we probably maintain that. Again, there's studies that'll show it does make a difference in terms of, sorry, I know that's hurting a little bit. in terms of recurrence rates and those type of things, but we try and avoid that if we can, just because we're trying to limit bacterial resistance. I remember we talked about before, if I use it as an example, strep pneumonia and its resistance to macrolides. Remember about 20 years ago, the resistance rates were about 2%. What is it about now? What's it floating around?
15-20%.
It's up around 30%. So this is why, and there's similar examples we can use throughout. So once I think we've done pretty well with this, I'm just going to be irrigating this because we want to clean that as much as possible. So I'll give you a couple more. So with irrigation, I'm just changing the angle of it as best we can. So beyond clearing this out, it also helps dislodge sometimes other fragments that are there. And should we pack this? That becomes the big argument too.
Packing, is it kind of something with an extra antibiotic in it, like a local antibiotic?
No, you can have packing that's infused with some stuff, but generally, so when I was taught eons ago, we used to pack everything, and we'd pack it for a long time. You'd pack it every single day. So, but now studies will show that it actually doesn't promote healing. It's just sort of more difficult for the patient. So it becomes two specific cases where I'll pack. One is where we want to achieve hemostasis, so it's just bleeding. Or if I think it might be collapsing into itself with respect to loculations. I don't feel that specifically in through here. Does that hurt at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. So this is where I'm careful. So as opposed to being aggressive and trying to break down loculations, I will put some packing into this just for one night. So just that we're going to allow this to sort of actually see if it'll collapse into itself, because it's an infected field, or inflamed field at the very least, and we don't want to be causing him undue discomfort. So we'll just pack this only for the evening while he has anesthesia in, and then we'll see him back tomorrow and hopefully take that out. And if anything's collapsed into it, then we'll be okay with that.
So it helps the loculations kind of break apart? Is that
Yeah, it gives them a chance to sort of break open. So I'm just going to take a swab here to send this off. So swabs, again, I do at the end of the procedure because we want it to be as clean as possible so we can get some live bacteria. So if I had sent that initial stuff that came out, remember pus is just dead cells.
I had a polynidal. Is that
Polynidal? Yeah.
Way back in the day when I was young.
Yeah,
And
that's just a different variant.
It was down at my rear, and they sliced and packed and then cyst bats for like 4 months.
Forever. Yeah, and that's something that we've gotten away from a little bit.
I see.
Now they might still do it for a couple of days, and depending on the clinician, you see some still do it long term, but it's just not what we thought it was. And it's, like I said, it's, as you're aware, it's uncomfortable.
No, that was, and then if it healed too quick, he would split it back open again.
Yeah.
Goldberg or something way back in the day.
Yeah, that approach would be a little bit different now. So this we just want to put in a healthy amount, not too much. You okay there? Yeah, see if you feel that. Yeah, I'll stop in a second. Just dab that for me. And this is why you're seeing now he's giving out some anesthesia and it's uncomfortable. So this is why we shouldn't continue this long term. So this is literally going to be one evening, and then we'll take this out. Now the other thing we have to learn about is how do we cut this string. So we want to maintain sterility through the actual ribbon gauze. So what you do when you're doing this, you cut your first cut up here, Jala. Cut there. Very good. And so now this piece, you'll actually grab and then cut there. So now your scissors, if they're contaminated, you don't have to worry about it, right? All right, and then we'll just put a dressing on that, and then we'll see him back tomorrow.